We're on.
Where are you this time?
I'm in the same room. I'm just a different part of the room.
You didn't want to talk about the wine thing.
Switching up a little bit. Yeah, I don't know. I'm standing now. Normally I'm in like these bar chairs that are like always end up hurting my back towards the end of the show. So I just switching it up a little bit.
Is the fan stopping behind you, or is that just the slowest fan of all time?
Yeah, it's I think it's stopping. I heard my on the go mic situation is a little weird. So right now I have headphones connected to my microphone, so the audio is like really high. Normally I have AirPods in, so I can't like hear myself talking, and like the audio it's weird to like adjust. But I heard it ticking, and I thought it was the fan, so I turned the fan off, and there's a clock right next to me. So it's
said the fan's stopping, but it's still going.
It's I don't know. Maybe the house is on a slant, and it's just gravity. Takes a little longer.
Mike, your thoughts? It is still going, right?
I think it's keeping CJ slightly cool. The smallest amount of just air circulation, slow as possible.
That's right. Yeah, just to keep me at a nice balance level.
We're not starting the pod till it stops. No, don't. I want it to go on its own now. You know what? I also because the aspect ratio, I can't tell whether that fan is tiny and right by CJ's head or far away and normal size. Like,
who knows? It's a mystery. But
this is the only room where CJ's 6'1" or whatever he claimed to be.
I never said I was 6'1". Didn't say that. But yeah, I'm confidently above the 5 threshold, and I'm happy with that.
You are above 5 feet.
Especially in this room at this angle. You can't deny that.
All right. Well, why don't we start a podcast? See what today's podcast is going to be about. Just honestly have no idea, considering almost nothing has happened since our last podcast. The Rights to Ricky Sanchez podcast is presented by DraftKings Sportsbook. Sign up for DraftKings Sportsbook by using promo code RTRS, and brought to you by Adam Ksebe. The fan stopped. The official realtor of the process. Call or text him 302-864-8643. Body Bio. Get 20% off any Body Bio product with code RTRS20. BodyBio.com. Pavorsky Jewelers, where Rights to Ricky Sanchez listeners go and get engaged. And Stateside Urban Craft Vodka, the official sponsor of the Corner 3 newsletter with Zoe. Get it at statesidevodka.com. On the show today, we see what our friend Daryl Morey is up to on Twitter and what he may be looking at. Speaking of Twitter, we will check in with former Sixers CEO Adam Aaron and his tweets about AMC stock and NFTs. We'll read them to Mike and see if we can get a translation. Talk about training camp battles as Sixers Adam has laid out for us, maybe guess the rotation. And finally, a Sixers-related marriage happens and one that dissolves. The Bark in the Park team is available to join. We're raising money for Providence Animal Center. The event is October 22nd. You can run it. You can walk it. The most important thing is if you raise $50, you get our free shirt designed by Todd Purse. You raise $100, you get the Providence Animal Center shirt. You can join at rightstoRickySanchez.com. Our goal is to set our own record and raise $16,000 for Providence Animal Center. We thank our sponsors for the Bark in the Park team: Mortgage CS, LL Pavorsky Jewelers, Body Bio, DraftKings, and Briggs Auction. And I did mention Stateside. Since we're doing Stateside in a Sunday morning pod, I am not drinking Stateside, but it is 100 degrees outside. And if you're sitting outside later on today, man, a Surfside iced tea and vodka would go fantastic. Just lightly sweet, just 100 calories, no carbonation, because iced tea does not have bubbles. It is the best. The Stateside vodka sodas are also awesome during the summer as well, available in 4 different flavors. You can get it all at statesidevodka.com, but you got to be 21. Without any further ado, Amos and the chef.
We were right, y'all. We were right. Even when it went wrong, we were right. We say the name. Say the name. We were right, y'all. We were right. Even when it went wrong, we were right. We were right, y'all. We were right. So say the name. Say the name. Say the name. Say the name.
Forever.
Welcome to the Rights to Ricky Sanchez podcast. I am Spike Eskin, along with a guy who is sleepy but ready to perform. That is one, Mike Levin.
Every time. The Mike Muscala shot in the intro, I will never get over it. I will never get over the fact that Mike Muscala hit two completely meaningless threes at Disneyland.
That changed the course of the Sixers franchise. Truly.
Forever. By so much.
Yep.
What a delight. And we were watching it knowing like this has to happen. And the fact that it was Muscala, I love him.
The fact that it's Muscala, the fact that the pick came from the Fultz trade, and if you were to bet at this point, you would bet that Tyrese Maxey will end up being better than Markelle Fultz, even though Fultz has saved his career, the different trajectories, I think.
Sure.
Just totally, it really does. If the Sixers don't end up with that pick and don't end up with Fultz, the projection for the franchise is a massively different thing. And all because Mike Muscala hit a couple of fucking big shots.
I mean, there's a chance that, probably not. But there's a chance that Daryl just is like, this team doesn't have enough juice.
And doesn't come.
Yeah. Would be really, we are indebted to Mike Muscala. And I hope so badly, obviously, that the Sixers win a championship with Tyrese Maxey as one of their, core players. And then we can, have a parade for Mike Muscala. We have a Sixers parade for everybody, and then a parade just for Mike Muscala.
I'm going to give CJ a job in that I think we need a full-on new intro video for the time the new season starts. I think.
Wow.
I think that's fair, right? I mean, there's far less production that goes into the live version of the show than the recorded version of the show. I think coming up with a new intro video is a fair ask. So I'm putting
Muscala has to stay. Muscala definitely stays.
Yeah. You can keep a lot of the elements. I just think it's time for a new one. A salute to the dude who made it for us. It was just a listener who made it for us. Thanks. Then CJ did the edit with James Harden's head in there, but I think it's about time.
Speaking of CJ, wait, I'm sorry, I have to start us off.
Mm-hmm.
CJ, can you pop on for a sec? Hello.
Fan stopped.
Hello.
The fan has stopped. So a week or so ago, we had Matt from Mount Joy on the podcast, where CJ, unfortunately, I wasn't here for the beginning of it, but CJ confronted Matt for CJ not being on the list and having to look like an idiot in front of his people.
I think I might know what's coming here. Go ahead.
So Mount Joy played the Palladium Friday night in LA. And Matt hooked me up with tickets, which was very nice. And we were going to try to see each other backstage and everything. Work ran long.
Didn't show.
And I wasn't able to make it.
The worst.
And
Give him a little taste of his own medicine.
And I gave him a little taste of his own medicine. And Matt said, this must be, revenge for CJ. So CJ, because I had to work late, I found justice for you.
Solidarity. Thank you.
That's right.
Does this mean that CJ doesn't get to go on the stage with his 18
No.
friends that he
separate.
requested?
Okay. This is vigilante justice. CJ
Okay.
Still, the negotiated situation is still intact.
Yep. The ink is dry on that deal.
That's right.
That's if you get in. So we got a DM on Twitter from a person who identifies himself as Dr. Brian Combs, PhD of Sixers psychology. And he shot me a screenshot of the Twitter account Girls in Yoga Pant. And the one follower is one Daryl Morey.
One follower?
No. Has 250,000 followers, but one of them, it says followers that you know, and Daryl is listed as a follower of Girls in Yoga Pants. Now this Twitter account is a lot. There are a lot of Twitter accounts like this on the internet. I feel like I've seen different versions of them. I think my dad follows one of them. It is what it says it is. It is photos of girls wearing yoga pants. Now, this account seems to link back to stories regarding, I don't know, but there are links. And Daryl follows about 3,000 different folks. I went and I found some notable ones. But I'm not shaming. It's fine. It is just, when people can see your follows, it's just like there are plenty of, Do you think
it's just interesting. We have a good relationship with the Sixers president, and we're gonna blow it up for shit posting about. All right, I'm fine with it.
Yeah, okay. I mean, look, I don't think it should blow it up. It's just like, look, we had, as somebody in Raymond says in the YouTube chat, we had a GM who used burners, and we did not like that. Daryl is not a burner guy, clearly, does everything on the main, including the yoga pants. So, just any thoughts, Mike?
Pure fan of yoga pants. Respect the texture, the stretchiness.
Yep.
The comfort.
Yep, they are comfortable.
Could have been an accidental follow. He's got he's big guy, big fingers, big thumbs.
Yep.
So you never know.
But I don't think there's anything. If you want to follow it, I think it's fine. I don't. He also follows a couple of notes. Mount Joy. He does follow Mount Joy.
That's an accident. That's got to be.
He follows several crypto and NFT ape accounts.
Unfortunately, that is very on purpose. Deeply on purpose. More embarrassing than the yoga pants one.
He follows actor Judge Reinhold.
Okay.
Judge Reinhold from my youth. Judge Reinhold was in, what do I remember Judge Reinhold from? Let's see. Judge Reinhold's IMDb. Oh, Beverly Hills Cop. Of course, Judge Reinhold was in. He was also in, I'm trying to remember what else Judge Reinhold was in, why he follows Judge Reinhold. Also, Daryl follows former New York Giant, and actually a coworker of mine, Carl Banks, Giant linebacker, and Ballsack Sports, who he's made note of a bunch of times, along with girls in yoga pant.
These are the deep dives.
Yep.
These are the August. This is August.
This is where we are. So any final thoughts before we move on?
No. No. What's your most embarrassing Twitter follow?
I think I'm very careful about it. I don't know. I don't think I have any embarrassing ones. I have this rule where I don't want to be following more than 900 people, and I'm up to 950. I was up close to 1,000. The problem was when I got to New York, I had to follow a bunch of new people. But I don't think I have any embarrassing ones. I don't.
I keep it low. Because I don't want it to be too much. If it's too much, I like to read most of what's going on. And if it's too much, it'll drive me crazy. So I keep it pretty low, and trust that I'll find out stuff from like retweets and stuff. Really putting a lot of pressure on the people I follow. Well, my most embarrassing ones, maybe Jake Pavorsky. Probably Jake.
You don't need to follow like Woj. Is my point, because Woj and Shams, like somebody will retweet it, so I can save a follow by not following them.
Save it. You gotta hoard those things.
And this is the last thing I'll say about Twitter follows is I need to get down to 900. If you're someone I follow and you would volunteer, a lot of unfollowing people is like courtesy. if you're someone I'm following out of courtesy, you could volunteer.
Looking for volunteers to sacrifice themselves.
So,
you could also mute them, you know.
I know, but I want to only follow 900 people.
Okay, so that's more of like a...
Yeah. Do you want to know how many people I have muted?
Yeah.
5,300.
That's a lot.
Yeah. Yeah.
How many of those people that you mute do you follow?
Very few.
Okay.
Very few. Very few is both. But I do have 5,000 people muted. Yeah. And I think like 800 people blocked or something like that. I don't block very much anymore. I used to block more, but I do have 5,000 people muted, 5,300, something like that.
That's strong. That's a strong list.
We'll get to our marriage news in a second, but first I want to talk about the official realtor of the process. That is Adam Ksebe, Ksebe, Ksebe. Buying a house right now, selling a house a little bit easier. Buying a house is crazy. There's not a lot of inventory. The houses go very quickly. They're not going for quite as much over asking as they were, but they're still expensive. You need a good realtor. You do. It's just the way the business works. And that's why you need Adam Ksebe, Ksebe, and his team. We're based out of Long and Foster and Bethany Beach. What they specialize in is Delaware Beach Realty. Now, if you were going to get a shore house, you were thinking about Jersey, I wouldn't get it in Jersey. Property tax is too high, price is too high, too crowded. You go to Delaware, get a house in Rehoboth, Lewis, Bethany Beach, something like that. You're going to pay way lower in property taxes, and you have Ksebe who can take care of you. Also, if you want to buy a house anywhere in Delaware, anywhere in Maryland, they can take care of you, but they are bigger than that in that if you want to buy a house in PA, sell a house in PA, New Jersey, New York, something like that, you go to Ksebe first. He will interview realtors. He will find the perfect realtor for you. So you only need this one, your connect to all of buying and selling homes. 302-864-8643. 302-864-8643. That is his cell. You can call him right now. I dare you. Call him, text him, ask him what he thinks, or email adam@processrealtor.com. That's Adam at Process Realtor. Adam Ksebe, the official realtor of the process. Some wedding news yesterday. Congratulations to Tobias Harris, who got married yesterday. There was a funny moment on Twitter where he said he was marrying his best friend, and everybody asked if he was marrying Boban Marjanovic, which is very funny. And he said he was not. So
I'm always interested to see who. I don't necessarily care about like celebrities generally. That doesn't really get me going to the gossip in that sense, unless I like know them or know people who know them in that sense. But I do always seem to want to know who's invited to whose wedding.
Ooh.
Who got the invite to Tobias's wedding?
Right. From the team? Well, the whole team, right?
Not even from the team, just in the world at large. Like, let me
Yeah.
get my hands on that invite list. Like, let me see what we're working with.
Mm-hmm.
And how were the invites doled out, all that stuff. So I'm always curious about that, of like who gets to go. Like we're doing a wedding thing on Young Rock this season. I don't know who fucking cares if I spoil something, but we're doing a wedding thing on Young Rock this season, and so we're having to be like who was invited or who are we making it up and all that shit. So I'm always curious. That's fun to imagine how many regular people get invited versus how many of my famous friends, like all that good stuff for Toby. I
had not even heard that he was getting married or anything. I didn't know that he was engaged. Did you? I had never not heard anything. Not that I need to know, but
I kind of remember like a picture of him like on a beach proposing, but I might be making that up. And also Danny Green got engaged, so I might be mixing that up. Yeah, but they keep it tight.
So also some wedding news, and this is, I'm not saying this is connected to a story we did in the last pod, but there is an update in the story we did in the last pod. Ben Simmons, who was engaged to, oh man, I don't remember her name. Hold on. Do you remember her name? Maya Jama?
Yeah, that's it.
Maya Jama. So they were engaged for 6 months. They, according to all of the tabloids over the last day or so, they are not engaged anymore. This comes from the Daily Mail. Maya Jama has reportedly split from her fiance Ben Simmons 6 months after getting engaged, called things off with the basketball player last month to focus on her career, claims The Sun.
I love a vague reason.
Yep. Ben proposed
to spend more time with family. To whatever the fuck. We didn't like each other that much. Yeah, that's the answer.
Yeah, no one can be
he
married
followed
and
Yoga
focus
Pant
on
on
their
Twitter.
career. Yeah.
Yeah, you simply can't focus on a career while you're in a relationship. It's impossible.
He followed girls and you.
It ended it right there.
Ben proposed to Maya last Christmas, following a whirlwind 7-month romance after she spent the festive period in his $3.7 million mansion in New Jersey. Despite the reports of their split, Maya was still seen sporting her huge engagement ring at the GRM Gala on Monday night, where she wore a striking red gown. The pair had a long-distance relationship, with the beauty often traveling back and forth to America, where he plays basketball for the Brooklyn Nets.
Another thing killed by Nick Castellanos.
Yeah. A source told the publication Maya called it off the engagement after things came to a head last month. She is not going back to New York now. It's heartbreaking for both of them, especially as they were so committed to each other. They're both young.
This is her friend's blog.
She's been hitting the gym a lot and spending time with her good friends. Experts valued Maya's emerald cut diamond engagement ring at $800,000.
The reason I said the Castellanos thing is because he now lives in Ben Simmons' house.
Ben Simmons' house, right? He's not dating Maya Jama.
He's not. To our knowledge, and obviously the running joke of every Castellanos home run, someone dies, which is a great baseball bit.
What's it called? So the thing we talked about last time with Ben was that TikTok story. That TikTok and the 3 TikToks that Haley T did from her car are all deleted.
There it is.
Do you think it was people harassing her on TikTok and that's why she deleted them? Or do you think someone from Team Simmons reached out to ask her to delete the TikToks? Or do you think that this was somehow related to the breaking off of his engagement, that he's now doing weird parties, inviting girls and taking away their cell phones and asking if they know who they are?
Just wandering the streets, wondering if anyone nearby happens to come in. I think it's all related. And I think that Haley T probably wears yoga pants sometimes. So I think you put it all together, and that gets you an engagement breakup. I don't know why I'm being so vague today, but try to respect people's whatever. But someone close to us has been engaged like 3 or 4 times, and I like the idea of just like you get engaged, they're older. You get engaged, and you're just like, all right, that didn't work out. Someone proposes to me, I say yes for a little bit, then that goes away. Like, I feel like that's like a romantic thing to do, and just to be like, I was engaged.
Yes.
Like that.
Yeah,
I was engaged a bunch of times. Like I've always liked that. I'm probably just gonna do it the once, but I do like it, and maybe collect rings, buy some LLs. That sounds fun.
When you say close to us, you mean you and Alyssa, not you and I, right? Is this not a person that I know?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Because I'm going through my head. Was Jake Pavorsky? Yeah. I mean, it would make sense. He has access to rings. Yeah.
Yeah. It's Sharp. Sharp's been engaged a dozen times.
So Adam Aaron used to be the CEO. By the way, the invite, even though she pulled down the TikToks, the invite for Haley T to come on the pod and tell us, the only thing I want to know is how the cell phone thing happened. I just want to know, hey, was there a basket by the front door? Did they ask for the cell phones? Was whatever. Because the minute I walk into a house and somebody says to me, you have to give me your cell phone to come in here, I walk right back out of the house. That's not a house that I spend any time in.
Well, especially, I mean, if there was a party or something where that happened, but like to be like, hey, randomly, small get together, we're young girls, we're going into this stranger's house, give me your phone, I would leave. I would advise them to do the same. But it apparently worked out and it was fine. Like nothing untoward, at least per the 3-minute video that we watched, which felt like 40. It is still a 7 out of 10. But yeah, no, that's a flag. That's a flag for me.
Do you think Alex Subers was there?
Sure.
If it happened.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course. Okay. Adam Aaron. We all remember Adam Aaron. If you're new to the Sixers and new to the pod, you might not. Adam Aaron was the first CEO of the Sixers after Josh Harris and David Blitzer bought the team. He had previously been the CEO of a cruise company, and he was known, I would say, mostly for, he was very public. He would walk around the venue, walk around the center and shake hands and talk to fans. He wore khakis and a blue blazer all the time, like he worked at Radio Shack or something. And he was exhausted by us, I think is fair to say. He was consistent. I think there was one radio show where you had to apologize to him or something when the Sixers traded for Bynum. I think if you search back, there was a moment where he came on and asked for your apology after they got Bynum.
I don't remember that at all.
I'm pretty sure it happened.
I do remember him tweeting at me when Spencer Hawes got a triple-double and being like, take that. It was like 13, 11, and 10.
I remember
probably like an 87-86 win over like a very mediocre team at the time.
So he left several years ago, and he became the CEO of AMC Theaters. Now, the interesting thing that has happened with AMC Theaters over the last couple of years is that if you remember Mike, how familiar are you with the GameStop stock situation?
I mean, very familiar, but not able to say exactly what it was.
What happened
or why.
So these groups of folks on Reddit, basically what they did was they picked a stock. In this case, it was GameStop that did not really have much of a future because what they did was they were basically trying to show that super rich people could manipulate the stock market because of the amount of stock that they could buy and when they could. So they could basically make stocks go up or down. And what this Reddit group did was by buying all of this GameStop stock, they made it very, very valuable. And then they held it for a while and they could make it go up and down. And they eventually did this with AMC stock. Adam Aaron has really leaned into the idea of being a meme stock, and his tweets are pretty insane. And he had a 12 tweet thread the other day. And I want to see how much of it you can take and then how much of it you can translate. So this is the CEO of AMC Theaters. By the way, we also told the story of when Adam Aaron texted me when I tweeted it. He was doing a movie premiere in New York. I tweeted back at him that I would like to go. He texted me that I could. I said, sure. And then he sent me the link to buy tickets and told me they were going fast. So here is the first tweet. One of 12. In this important, quote, tweet storm, a dozen messages to explain a bold step. In addition to releasing today our handsomely improving second quarter 2022 earnings, we also broke out the 3D chessboard and got creative. A big move that addresses so many of your asks. In all caps, today we pounce. Anything?
No, not yet.
Not yet. Okay. All right. Number 2. Quarter 2 AMC results very encouraging. Revenue 2.5 times Q2 2021 and positive EBITDA. EBITDA is a metric for basically how a company is performing. An enormous improvement over Q2 2021. As promised, it's time to take bold action. An AMC preferred equity dividend to holders of common shares. Read this, all caps, open letter, hashtag today we pounce. Mike, anything yet?
Really trying to make today we pounce a thing.
These 516,820,595 new, quote, AMC preferred equity units will trade on the New York Stock Exchange with the symbol APE, APE. Yes, you heard that right. APE, APE, AMC preferred equity. This is different than a straight stock split of common shares, but nonetheless quite similar. Hashtag today we pounce.
Yes, you heard that right. Today we pounce sounds like a little cat like jumping from like a chair to like the couch. And that's what Adam Aaron, who when I saw this in the rundown, I was like, I thought this was our Adam, Sixers Adam. It's really crazy that their names are so similar. That is,
yep. Not
Adam
Adam Aaron.
Common name. It's not unreasonable, but for them to be this close in the Sixers world is surprising. Adam, what are you doing, bud?
You will get one ape tax-free as a stock dividend for one AMC common share that you own. At least for now, the big news is not dilution, as the AMC preferred equity unit dividends all go and only go to existing owners of company-issued common shares. Hashtag today we pounce.
It's so bizarre. Like growing up, like you think like people that work for a basketball team or the NBA are like huge NBA fans, huge basketball fans. Everyone that works around the company is like lives, breathes basketball.
Yep.
And to then be like, this guy was the CEO of the team.
Yes.
And now he's tweeting about like giving people
apes
as stock gifts for their grifting, tax friends. It just doesn't. I'm just like, why did you ever work with the Sixers? Like, just go be whatever this is. But I guess he could have multiple interests, but it's very odd to read this and be like, this guy was also watching like a lot of Michael Carter Williams, like a lot.
So for each of your AMC shares after the dividend, you will instead own one AMC common share and one ape. Logic says the price will fall, but your value will be the sum of one share plus one ape. Different, but similar to a 2-to-1 stock split of common shares. Candidly, I've seen, hashtag today we pounce. Here's where it gets good. Candidly, I've seen no evidence of so-called fake or synthetic shares exist, but many of you disagree. This preferred equity dividend only goes to company-issued shares, so it will have the impact of a share count or unique dividend many of you have sought. Hashtag today we pounce. And here's where you find out you're very lucky. We will also be giving a free, quote, I Own Ape NFT to all existing AMC Investor Connect members and new members joining by August 31st. You can also get a free second version of the I Own AMC NFT originally issued this past winter. Hashtag today we pounce.
Just release movies, man. What the fuck? Just show movies, have some popcorn, and let people come in and man, just worthless. All this shit is so pointless. Same guy, Bullock, Adam. Apparently, I apologize. CJ put the article that you wrote of forcing me to apologize to him on air in the chat. It was almost 10 years ago exactly.
So it was before the Ricky. It was before the Ricky then.
Yeah.
It was August 16th, 10 years ago, and the exact quote is, "Adam Aaron, I'm sorry for being so mean to you on the internet."
That sounds right. But now I'm not. Time has changed. I take it back. Also the guy that didn't want to weigh in on early pandemic about whether people should wear masks or not because he didn't want to be political at his theaters. And it's like, okay, buddy, that's just a stance you're taking. You are taking it, and he did take it. And then he, years later, tweeted about pouncing like a little kitty cat.
This was the best. This is a quote from the article from Mike. This was the best move I think the Sixers have ever made.
Oh, you're pivoting to the article now? Okay.
This is the single best move in the history of the franchise because they were literally a couple of Rajon Rondo threes away from making the Eastern Conference Finals, a couple minutes away, a couple bounces they would have gotten in. The fact that they tore it down after that, I really respected. That's not to say that I'm going to agree with every move they make from now on, but this was a terrific move. This was a terrific offseason because of this move, and now I have a great deal of respect for the Sixers organization for doing what's necessary. So this
is you transcribing something into an article that I said on your radio show.
Correct.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I hated the Doug Collins team, and I wanted them to tear it down. And the Bynum trade, it was always the Bynum trade like molded me and of who I became. Was like me agreeing with the Bynum trade no matter what the results were, just to get them out of the middle was what I wanted, and it worked out. And I thank them for that.
Before we talk about Body Bio, I'd like to say I would love for somebody to buy a share of AMC common stock, get the Ape NFT, and transfer the Ape NFT to Mike. I want Mike to own the Ape NFT and the I Am AMC NFT.
I will not open the email. I will delete it. It will go right in the trash. So thank you.
Body Bio is a sponsor of the Rights to Ricky Sanchez podcast. Also, they are a supporter of our Bark in the Park Run team. Thank you, Body Bio. This has sort of become the product from Body Bio that is the foot in the door. This is how you discover Body Bio. This is Elite right here. And this is their product that is pure electrolytes. Staying hydrated is incredibly important for your health. Sleep, hydration. Those two things are huge. And hydration is more than just drinking water or drinking seltzer. You need the electrolytes too. Now, there are a lot of products that get you electrolytes, but they also get you artificial colors and artificial flavors, sometimes calories you don't need, all of that bad stuff. Elite is none of that. It is just electrolytes. You take a capful, you put it in whatever you're drinking, water, juice, seltzer for me, twice a day, and you are properly hydrated. The cramps I had in my legs and my feet, they went away. If you have trouble, maybe you have cramping trouble, or you know that you're not hydrated properly, Elite, it's cheap. It's like $8 for this, lasts forever. And you can get 20% off with code RTRS20 at bodybio.com, RTRS20 at bodybio.com. While you're there, you want to check out the other products we've talked about, liposomal vitamin C, butyrate, calm, all that stuff. And the best thing about Body Bio, family owned, family operated, everything on the website is explained super well about what it does and where it comes from. And they support the Ricky. That's all you need. Again, bodybio.com, code RTRS20 for 20% off. That is bodybio.com. So Sixers Adam.
I am drinking now because I have basketball in an hour and a half.
There you go. You don't want to cramp.
Can't cramp. Can't be cramping out here. Getting old.
If LeBron had been using Elite, they may have won that title that they lost to the Spurs when it was hot in the Alamo Dome. You remember that one? When he cramped up, couldn't play? Sixers Adam wrote an article about what he thinks are the most intriguing training camp battles.
Wait, hang on a second.
Yeah?
Before that, bringing up Doug Collins. I saw our friend John Gonzalez last night, and he brought up Doug Collins and said how Doug had the reputation of knowing everybody that he meets and what their names and remembering it and all that stuff. Mm-hmm. And it reminded me, and John was like, it was a nice thing, a weird thing, but a nice thing. And I was like, it reminded me how much I hated him. I really hated Doug Collins. What a total, as a guy, who knows, whatever, but as a coach, just absolutely nothing doing. And it made me realize that we talked about Doc last week a lot, or last podcast, and I hadn't connected how similar they are as coaches and as people. Oh,
yeah. Well, especially as people, the stubbornness on the press conference stubbornness and the reluctance to take accountability for what you may have done wrong.
Yeah. Doug notoriously rancoring Andre Iguodala and kind of being a dick to him. I guess Doc with the same with Ben, but yeah, those are not my kind of guys. Not my kind of guys. And I don't know why I hadn't put that together. That that's a similar feeling that we have now of it feels like we have Doug Collins again. And again, Doug Collins, someone that people would say, I mean, Doc probably has a better reputation than Doug league wide, but people would say Doug Collins is one of the best, one of the top 25 coaches ever, probably. And I think that's just ridiculous. Or there just haven't been many good coaches.
Well, he did a very good job of taking a team that was bad and getting them to average by sort of there are coaches like that can move in and there's a reason he really only lasted 2 or 3 years everywhere he went. He is good about getting a team that is not respectable to the respectable end, but he had no ability to get them past that. And he did.
One of the least important traits in the world, I would say, of who would want that? What team would want to be like, just please let us win 41 games? I mean, maybe some teams would, but like as a fan of any team, I would be like, that is unhelpful. That's an unhelpful trait to like make your players unpleasant and get worse draft picks. I have no interest in that. It's like, hey, if like Daniel House had like the best like lefty hook from like 40 feet out of bounds, and it's just like, that's not helpful. You're never going to take that lefty hook from 40 feet out of bounds, Dan House. That's what Doug Collins' skill set is.
I know you didn't find it to be enjoyable, but for a team that was the first year, 18 months of Doug Collins, when the team actually like looked like a real basketball team again, I enjoyed that. Like I thought it was nice. I did. So. I enjoyed it, but I turned on him quickly. I actually think the story about him obliterating Iguodala behind the scenes was, I think, the only like scoop story I've ever written in my, like when that team was falling apart, he basically behind the scenes like obliterated Iguodala to the team beat writers, which was obviously terrible. And his farewell press conference, it wasn't his last press conference, but it was after that Orlando game. It was the ran through my shoes press conference and the I never got booed press conference as a player. It was just one of the most just the worst press conferences I've ever seen in my entire life. I would love to replay that if it exists.
Look, if it's the ultimate game, why do they play it?
Play it again next year. It's training camp. I think, so here are the three that Sixers Adam wrote about. He wrote about Bassie versus B-Ball Paul, which I think is less interesting than the next two, which is Daniel House versus Thibault and Ferk versus Isaiah Joe. Now, obviously, they're going to play all of these players to a certain extent. It's a long regular season. I think the Bassie versus B-Ball Paul thing is pretty settled at this point. I think it's B-Ball Paul's job to lose. Would you agree? Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think that,
proved it in the playoffs, earned Doc's trust a little bit, for sure.
Mm-hmm. House versus Thibault is interesting because they got to play a little bit of a game here in that I don't think they can pull Thibault out of the rotation if they want to trade him. You know, like I think they have to do their best to get him. I don't think he's eligible for his contract's ending. I don't think they want to pay him anything of significance. Mm-hmm. Daniel House, I think, would obviously be more helpful to have them win games, but I don't think they can pull Thibault.
I still sort of feel like there's going to be a trade that happens before anything. Like maybe soon. It just feels like it doesn't seem quite right now. Right. I feel like there's an unsettling of like, I don't think they're going to go into camp with this roster. But yeah, I mean, the Thibault piece is interesting because if he can get back to the defender he was, it's so weird that he was on an all defensive team because he really wasn't very good defensively last year. But if they can get back to the guy he was as in the second year, like extremely valuable player, just like offensively, you're always going to have to find a way to make him work. And if it's like, if you have if your big is a 3-point shooting big that you don't really want in the post, then maybe you can let him cut and be in the dunker spot and whatever. But there was a video, I think it was on Liberty Ballers, of like all the times that Harden drove. And even though like Harden has lost a step, every time Harden drove when Thibault's on the court and like whoever's covering Thibault just like leaving his guy to go like help on James's drive, and not being even close and not even worried about him at all. So that can happen. I think, especially like with his diminished speed, like you really need to have like the court spread for him. And if you're not being respected as a shooter, then that's really tough. But I also like the idea of, for a while, we saw Harden like weaponizing Matisse as like a cutter and like as a, his passing, helping him get some easy looks and stuff. So I wonder if there's some way to do it, but right now on this team, you're like, who can Matisse play with that wouldn't be like with Embiid? You're like, you don't want people doubling him. With Maxey, maybe he's fast enough to get past any double team, whatever. But Harden already said. So it's just like it's a weird spot for him. He's just like, it's like a little overly simplistic of just like, this guy's got to shoot, but like this guy's got to shoot. Like he's got to be able to hit shots. And if he doesn't, then like he's really just like a pinch hitter type.
Yeah.
Like an offense defense that you can't really hang.
Yeah, it's one of those players you throw out, see if he can cause a little ruckus, and if he can't, then you got to get him off the floor. He does. And I've been saying it for years. That's the only thing. If he can just do that thing, then every other inadequacy that he has, you can live with. But if he can't hit shots, if he won't take and hit shots, you can't have him on the court.
Yeah, and there's like weird, like Bruce Brown is a guy that like he had a really good second half shooting, and he's a better shooter than Matisse was for sure, and a better ball handler.
Much better ball handler.
He played point guard at Miami, so he definitely has more skills there. But like a guy that people left open for a while, and he still impacted the game because he had an interesting finishing package and he was more versatile. Thibault, like his offense just has never improved, and so like he's not like. He can't take anything on the short roll and like finish around anybody like through traffic or like have good body control with the ball in his hands. Like he's just like you always talk about him like being on skates, and like too often he's just like his balance is just off, and he doesn't like utilize any other ways to score. Like he's obviously hit a couple shots here and there, but really like he has not found a way to become an impactful offensive player in any way whatsoever. And if it doesn't matter how good your defense is, if that's the case, you can't play.
Especially in the NBA in 2022. Like you have to be able to, especially on this team. And then the last one he wrote about was Furk versus Isaiah Joe. Now, Isaiah Joe had a good summer league. I think was cut short in that he injured his shoulder. Furk much bigger than Isaiah Joe. Isaiah Joe's much shorter than I ever thought he was. I think I realized that at some point in the middle of last year. But, you feel like their minutes, you're guessing that DeAnthony Melton's minutes are pretty much guaranteed. Shake Milton's minutes are pretty much guaranteed. Niang will... What's that?
I don't know that I would guarantee Shake. I don't know that I would.
Really?
I obviously I love Shake, but I think if they like Melton more as the like occasional point guard guy that can run a little bit of the offense, and Shake is not, if he's not quick enough off the catch, if he's not getting to his spots, if he's getting like out muscled on defense or whatever, I could see a version where Shake falls out of the rotation a little bit, which would bum me out because I like him. I think he's helpful, but he really needs to become like a dead eye catch and shoot guy, quicker catch and shoot guy, and then attack closeout, second side, all that stuff, and become and like finally get bigger and more helpful on the defensive end, because he's not a bad defender, but he's just not an impactful one.
If you had a bet, who will average more minutes this year, Isaiah Joe or Furk?
I think there's a chance that, the trade I was talking about earlier, I think there's a chance that they do like a Matisse and Furk, possibly, and some other guy, just to get the salary up, to then have to trade for somebody that like sort of consolidates those guys into one more helpful two-way player. So I think there's a chance that he's on the team, but I would probably say Korkmaz is the safe bet, just because of he's been there before. Doc trusts him a little bit more. He is a little bigger, even though I think their wingspans are probably about the same. Korkmaz and Isaiah Joe.
Much higher release.
What'd you say?
Cork has a much higher release on his shot.
Higher release, but Joe can hit from deeper. He has that range, and I think Isaiah works harder on defense and fights through screens better, and I think can like make more plays happen. But one of them just needs to like hit shots, and last year they didn't, which is tough.
LL Pavorsky Jewelers. Mike, we're ready for that new thing.
Cool.
With LL. All right. So LL Pavorsky Jewelers, up to, I have been told via text from LL, 287 Rights to Ricky Sanchez listeners have purchased engagement rings from LL Pavorsky Jewelers. 287. We also got, let me go to Twitter so we can congratulate the people. We got an LL successful engagement. There we go. came from, I don't know the name. I just know the Twitter name, Ankit_1. Looks like number 275 was a successful engagement as well. So congratulations. He in his, the guy that got engaged, refers to himself as Selena Gomez's husband in his bio. I don't think that's true. I don't think that's what's happened. So congratulations there. LL was the first sponsor of the Rights to Ricky Sanchez podcast years and years and years ago, and a supporter before he was a sponsor. Begged us to be a sponsor, and boy, are we glad we took him on, because boy, is he good at what he does, and boy, have so many Rights to Ricky Sanchez listeners.
Patty Rascona.
What? Oh, Jesus. Sorry. Did that come over the air? Is that no? It did. So my friend Patty was calling me to wish me happy birthday, and I can't.
Is it your
believe it
birthday?
came over there. Yeah, it is.
Oh, I didn't know that. Happy birthday, man.
Thank you. That's why it said Patty. Did you hear Patty Rascona? Did you hear that? Oh, that's wild. I gotta turn on Do Not Disturb. It is on Do Not Disturb. What are we doing here? Anyway.
Disturb anyway.
Yeah. So LL reached out. Was. Now I'm all fucking confused.
I'm sorry, I had no idea it was your birthday. I didn't
it's my
CJ,
birthday.
These are the CJ. You got to do the intro video, and you got to tell me when Spike's birthday is.
Every Rights to Ricky Sanchez listener who has gone to LL has raved about it. He treats our listeners with so much respect, and is so great at what he does. And buying an engagement ring is generally a pretty scary proposition. You're going to spend a bunch of money and you don't know what you're looking at. Like, they could be lying to you. They really could. I'm not saying that jewelers lie. I'm just saying it's
the number
scary.
one issue in engagements is that the jeweler is lying to you, but not here.
So you go there, and instead of a salesperson pouncing on you and irritating the shit out of you and pressuring you, you have LL, who treats you with respect, who wants you to have an appointment before you go so he can have everything ready for you, and is going to work with you within whatever price range that is. It's just a great guy and a great business. Been in business at 707 Walnut for over 30 years. You don't do that without being really good at what you do. 215-627-2252 is a phone number in case you want to call to make an appointment. You can also email him, lee@llpavorsky.com, or just tweet at him @llpavorsky. Now, when Lee started, he started by, we wouldn't take his money, and we're like, just donate to our charities. And he has always been a supporter of our charities. Of course, he supports Providence Animal Center and is a sponsor of our run team. But Mike and I have always chosen charities, and Mike has chosen a new one to support. Mike, would you like to tell them about it?
Yeah, we were with Coded by Kids for a few years, a bunch of years actually.
Yeah.
Which was awesome. I love that organization. They've done some great stuff about helping kids from the city work in tech and get better at coding and all the mentorships and stuff. So we love them. Thank you very much for all they've done for the people around there. But we wanted to mix it up. I wanted to mix it up, and after a few years, which I did before as well. And we are now donating to the Mama T pop-up grocery store, also the Mama T fridge. They basically community fridges around the Philadelphia area to combat food deserts. And just get people fed with like healthy food. You can donate all this stuff. They have 18. I'm looking at their site right now. They have 18 community fridges sort of all around the city. A bunch in, you can look them up if you need something, if you need some food for a little bit. There's plenty in West Philly, Kensington, Fishtown, Nicetown, all the stuff, Germantown. Look at some stuff over there. And it's just like a cool, I help with some community fridges out here in LA. And I've done a little bit to South Philly community fridge. There's a bunch of, I just like the idea of community fridges a lot, and it helps people, and it's like practical, and it feels like people in your community are taking care of each other. And Mama T's doing great work, getting people fed. They're partners with Whole Foods, which is cool. And yeah, they're doing great stuff. So we're excited to help some people get fed. And I have a good LL tagline for say it.
LL Pavorsky Jewelers.
Getting people wed, getting people fed.
There you go.
There we go.
Let's go to the mailbag. I was going to do rotation stuff. We'll do that another time. Let's go to the mailbag. This Rights to Ricky Sanchez @gmail.com is where you email us. Send us one basketball, one non-basketball, or you can leave us a voicemail at 833-LickFace. This comes from Greg, You've been talking about getting the Ricky on vinyl. As a lover of the medium, I'm a fan of this idea. As I thought about it recently, I figured a 7-inch 45 has to be way cheaper to produce, less material, smaller packaging, less audio. I figured the reading of the Hinky letter would be the ultimate 45. Google informed me that a 45 can fit about 4.5 minutes on each side. So I went back and listened to that podcast from September 2016. Little did I remember that this letter took 42 minutes and 17 seconds to read aloud. So I went back to Google and informed me that a standard 33 LP can hold approximately 22 minutes of audio per side. Clearly, this is fate. Releasing the Hinky letter on vinyl with maybe a minute added to the A side, introducing listeners to the people who read the letter, is the most Ricky thing that there could be, and basically adds up to 44 minutes. Now, maybe this doesn't work because you don't have a right to publish the letter or other people speaking without their permission. We already did that. But that aside, there's no need to go through nearly a decade of audio to figure out what makes the cut for Ricky vinyl. If this is all allowed, it's the Hinky letter. Mike, what do you think? Now, I'm trying to remember who we broke up the reading of the pages. So I know I read a page, you read a page, LL read a page, Dietrich read a page. I can't remember who else read it. What do you think?
I don't love it.
Okay.
I don't think that there's much. I think look, we're all pathetic. We're all here.
Yeah.
We're all disgusting. We all, as you said last time, I didn't want to do a podcast after Hinky resigned because I was too upset.
It was you, LL, Max Rappaport, Sean Carroll, theoretical physicist, Ange Goldstein, Ben Dietrich, Mike Weber, Michael Bauman of The Ringer, and Eliza Hardy-Jones, and me and you.
Yeah, I think we're past that. I think it's a little too deep, too unlistenable probably.
Yeah.
Everybody moved on. So I think if you want to do an actual, that's like a Hinky vinyl, right? So if you want to do like a Ricky vinyl, I feel like you need to do something a little bit dumber on our side of things.
I agree. It's a good idea. A lot of people suggested it, but I don't like going back and listening to it. I don't like it as much as I would want to especially to make people buy it, ask people to buy it. I really want to like it. So, and
Bauman's voice on vinyl, it's going to sound like shit. Come on. You don't want that. Nobody wants that.
Also, so many of the people who read it into an iPhone or something. It doesn't sound great. This comes from Addison. Basketball question. Seems like Joel is underappreciated across the landscape of basketball. I just don't feel people view him in that Giannis, KD, LeBron area. I guess the same could be said of Jokic, but in Jokic's case, it is earned because he's only good at calculator basketball. Here's the question. How is Joel thought of all time if he plays this level for 3 or 4 more years and ends up with 2 finals appearances with the Sixers, but they never win a title? How is he thought of in the history of the game?
Well, I think that's I think it's because he hasn't had playoff success.
Yeah.
I agree. That's 100% it.
With all of those players that he mentioned, Giannis, KD, LeBron, that level, they've all succeeded in the playoffs. Yeah,
even Jokic got to the conference finals, and presumably, with Jamal Murray healthy this year, I think I would love a Denver Philly championship. That would be awesome. That would be very cool. If Embiid plays this way for let's say 6 more years, and gets to 2 finals, I think he'll be thought of as one of the top 50 players ever.
He would definitely be the best Sixer. If he ended up with 2 finals appearances, that would put him ahead of Iverson.
Oh yeah, I mean, I kind of think he's already there. That's such a,
Iverson, he's better than Iverson ever was, but Iverson won an MVP and reached the finals, and Embiid hasn't done either of those things,
For sure, but the MVP thing is a little less tangible. I think he deserved one. He should have gotten it. But the finals thing is obviously more real, although it was an odd era of basketball. But not taking away. I think that I have said that I think that the 01 Sixers is the worst finals team ever. I loved them at the time, and would like incredible like collection of like things to happen to get them there. It was a special thing, and to win Game 1 against the Lakers was incredible, kicked ass. But yeah, I mean, I think basketball has changed for the better, and for Embiid to be able to do all the stuff that he can do, is I think he's just worlds better. But he's got to prove it in the playoffs, which Iverson at least got to the finals that one year, and Embiid has to do the same at least. So
yep, I agree. Hold on, what was the non-basketball question from Addison? Non-basketball. You guys both have careers that seem like dream jobs to people. What is something that most people would not expect about your job, or that you didn't expect before you got into it?
I don't know. I think with TV writing, you can't expect people to like actually know what it is or what they do, but people either like assume it's like I have like the most responsibility on the show, and like everybody like it revolves around us, or they think like, oh, like you help with the show, like as if I'm like an assistant or something. And I feel like there's never rarely like a good middle ground of like what people like know what the job is.
Right.
But why would they? So I don't. That's not
Well, the process is. I don't think anybody could even imagine the process of like joke writing and writing for a television show, like what it's actually like. Do you know what I'm saying? Like I don't even think a person. I can't even conceive of what the conversation even is like. You know?
Yeah. There's times when they would. There's been a couple writers' rooms that like an LA Times reporter or whatever would like sit in the writer's room and like hear it and listen and stuff. But if there's a that's like the writer's room is such a specific place that if there's like a random person there, it like totally disrupts the like flow of the room and what people are willing to say and how they would act and all that stuff. So it's nothing really does it. It's like extremely normal to me and just like a regular workplace, but there's all these like unspoken, unwritten rules and, you know, people talking shit about each other behind the scenes. It's like a workplace, but just like a very odd, unique one where people are making jokes all the time.
I think there are probably a lot of things at a sports radio station that people imagine that are correct, and there's probably a lot that people imagine aren't correct. I think my job specifically, I'm like, when people complain about what the hosts talk about, I'd never tell the host what to talk about. Ever. That is their job to decide what to talk about. So I manage them and I try to like work with them on their process, but I never go in and go, hey guys, it's a fucking Knicks day today, or it's in the case of when I was at WIP, you better talk about the Phillies today. That's their job, not mine. And
that is surprising to me.
Really?
I know you've said that before, but it is surprising to me that the producer wouldn't.
I'm not a producer.
Not.
No. I am.
There are producers on the show, right?
Correct. Yeah. So okay. I am in Philadelphia. I was the program director. In New York, I'm the vice president of programming. But even so, the goal is to sort of like take what the host feels if you're working with them and say, how do we work this into something that is compelling and interesting that we can talk about. But you can't, I'm sure there are some program directors that go in and say, you have to talk about this today, but I don't find that to be particularly like helpful. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's a person who's creative and has to be able to argue passionately about what they think. And if you tell them what to think, like, you're almost guaranteeing yourself that you will have a worse outcome, I think, you know. Mm-hmm. And I also don't have time to think of what everyone should talk about. So I think that's probably the thing that people probably are most surprised by. I do love doing what I do. What was I most surprised by? I think it's more interesting than I ever thought it would be. Like, I think sports radio and sports media, the internal of like how it works, is more interesting than I thought it would be. We have time for one more. This comes from James. Hey, did I read this before? Hey, Spike, Mike, CJ's girlfriend's dad. I definitely did. Well, I don't know. I just realized that Embiid and Harden have been second in MVP voting a combined 5 times. That has to be some kind of record for teammates. Is this the kind of type of underdog energy that will propel us to a championship?
Well, Harden's won an MVP.
Right. But he has been second in MVP voting.
I think it'd be
3
more
times.
interesting. If Harden hadn't won an MVP and had just finished second 3 times, then I think that would be very interesting. But I think because he's won one, I think it's less interesting, I guess.
Because he won. Yeah.
Yeah, he's won.
Yeah.
But I like the idea of 2 second of MVPs teaming up and winning a championship together. But it didn't happen.
All right. We're out of here. This was probably the most off-season podcast we've ever done. Adam Aaron's Twitter, Daryl Morey's Twitter, Ferk or Isaiah Joe, Ben Simmons breaking off his engagement. It was pretty deep, you know.
We've had some off seasons.
Yeah. we gotta get a guest. Anybody want a guest on the Ricky? We've had a really good couple of off seasons. We did have B-Ball Paul. We did have Brett Brown. I feel like we need one more home run. Start working on that. We'll talk to you next time. Are you down with TTP?
Yeah, like face.